All right, howdy, y'all. I've been told that my videos aren't funny enough and that I should add some music, so I'm playing some music in the background. And you can probably tell from my accent that we're going a little country here because today's lesson is about two-step equations. And when I think of two-step, I think of two-stepping. And so I'm going to have a little country music playing in the background. I got my sweet tea right here because you always have some good sweet tea when you're listening to some country music. So we're going to talk about two-step equations, and we're on page 23 in our composition books, them books that we've been writing in. So the title is Two-Step Equations. Now, if you have problems understanding me and my accent because I'm country today, then you can just ask me next week, and we'll be really, really happy to explain it to you. So when we talk about solving two-step equations, it's very similar to solving them one-step equations that we did last time, but there's two steps. That's why they call it two-step equations. Go figure. So here we go with two-step equations. Now remember back in the olden days, you used to use what you called PEMDAS, and PEMDAS was the order of operations that you're supposed to do. Well, when we do two-step equations, we got to do SADMEP. SADMEP is PEMDAS backwards. So we have SADMEP. So in SADMEP, which is PEMDAS backwards, you got to do the S and the A first. So if you have an opportunity in a two-step equations to add or subtract first, that's what you got to do. So we're going to look at an example just to show you that. Let's say I have example number 1, and it's 3x plus 7 equals 19. Now, do I have an opportunity to add or subtract first? Well, yes, I do. I got to get rid of that 7 before I can do anything else. So I'm going to subtract that 7 from both sides because SADMEP says I could subtract or add first. Well, I'm going to subtract because if I added, I wouldn't help myself at all. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. Well, that leaves me there with 3x equals 19 minus 7 is still 12. Even in the country, folks, it's still 12. And now, because I have a multiplication problem right here, I got to do the opposite. And the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. And when I divide by 3, I'm left with x equals 12 divided by 3 is 4. And now we're going to do another example that's very similar to that first one, and we're just going to try it out. So this is going to be example number 2, and example number 2 is 7k minus 14 equals 42. Well, we're going to still practice that SADMEP backward. Now, you got to be happy when you do SADMEP because, it just would be sad to do SADMEP sad. We got to be happy. So we're going to choose to do our subtracting or adding first. Well, there's a subtracting right here. So the opposite of that is to add. So we're going to have to add 14 to both of them sides right there. We don't need an equal sign. I don't know why I just wrote that. But we're going to add 14 to both sides. So we're left with 7k because those two cancel out because they become 0 when you add that negative to that positive. And now we got 42 plus 14. Well, what in tarnation is 42 plus 14? Well, you use the calculator. No, you don't. You don't need a calculator for 42 plus 14. We know it's 56. Well, now I got 7k equals 56. Well, how many k's is that? Well, let's divide by 7 on both sides. And there I get to cancel out them 7s, and I'm left with k equals 8. That's 8, as in 7, 8, 9. Excuse me while I take a swig of my sweet tea, because my throat is a little bit parched. That's some good sweet tea right there from McAllister's. You can go there and get some too. Tell them I sent you. Now, the last problem we're going to do on this here video is number 3. And number 3, we got something new thrown into this one. We're going to have an r over the 4, and we're going to subtract 12, and we're going to equal to the negative 5. Well, again, we got to do SADMEP, and we're happy about SADMEP, but we got to do SADMEP, and so it says if I can add or subtract first, that's what I got to do. And so I'm going to subtract, well, I'm not going to subtract 12. I got to add 12 to both sides. So I'm going to plus 12 right there and a plus 12 right there. We know that that negative 12 and that positive 12 just cancels themselves out. So what do? We got negative 5 plus 12. Well, what in tarnation is that? The rule is we got to do negative plus a positive, and we know that equals to a 7. So now we got r over 4 equals to a 7. Well, we got a division now. What's the opposite of division? Oh, multiplication. There you go. You're right. So we're going to multiply by that there 4 on both of them their sides. Remember, we got to put the 4 on the outsides, not on the insides. So we're going to do 4 times r over 4 equals 7 times that same 4 that we multiplied by on the other side. So we take this and know them 4's cancel out, and we're left with the r right there. Whoops, I don't know why I wrote a p, but it's supposed to be a r. We got an r right there, and we know that 7 times 4 gives us a 28. Well, let's just go back and check this. Let's take that 28 and let's stick it right up there where that r is. 28 divided by 4 is 7. And 7 minus 12 is negative 5, so we must be right. Hallelujah. We're right. We know that r equals 28.